Hello and welcome to another episode of Natural as F. I'm your host, Dr. Ferrante Frazier. I'm a holistic practitioner teaching the ways of health using only natural concepts and you know, you only using things that are required in nature, such as fresh air, sunlight, rest and relaxation. And I say that because most times when people hear that I'm a holistic doctor, well, hey, tell me what I can take to get rid of this. Well, you can't take anything. What you need to do is take fresh air. You need to take wholesome foods to put into your body to allow your body to heal. So we teach nothing but natural concepts and means that will help restore your body back to health or to stop the body from suffering in its sicknesses. We want to thank the ATR Black Media platform for allowing us to be a part of this, allowing us to push out healthy information to teach people how to heal in this day of suffering because a lot of suffering is going on. I want to thank my listeners who come every week and tune in. We having, our views are going back up. We want to encourage you to help expand this information almost worldwide. Oh, expand it worldwide, not almost. Let's just expand it to as many people that need to hear it. We're not the only ones teaching it now. We got holistic doctors that practice natural hygiene all over the place, even all up in this state, all up in South Carolina, really in every state. You got plenty of holistic doctors that's practicing natural hygiene, just like you got any other doctor around here practicing their modality. So it's not just, Ferrante Frazier information. This is not just my teachings. Universities teach this stuff and produce holistic doctors such as myself, naturopathic, natural orthopathic doctors such as myself. So this is not just Ferrante Frazier information. This is not just my belief that I'm coming up with. Uh, this is a way of life and a modality called natural hygiene. So I want to thank y'all for tuning in and practicing some of these things that I have been suggesting, and hopefully that they are proven to be beneficial to you. I would like to hear some of those benefits that you're receiving from practicing some of the concepts that we've been sharing up here. You can email me at savannahnaturalhealth@gmail.com. You can call us at 912-227-9335. You can even respond here with a comment, or you can get in touch with ATR Media and let them know some of the good things that have been happening in your life, and you want to share it where you can help other people who may have doubt about if fresh air is better than stale toxic air. You can help people who have doubt that fresh clean water is superior to dirty, disgusting toxic water. You can help individuals who don't believe that rest and relaxation is needed for energy restoration. You can help people understand the ideal, you know, temperatures, and exercise is superior to, you know, um, just allowing yourself to be subjected to extreme colds and extreme heat and not going out doing any exercise. So when you start doing the things that we tell you to do and you start seeing a difference in your health, you notice that your health is improving, you notice that disease are disappearing out of your life, then it's always good to share with others. Let other people know that, yeah, man, this thing is working. Some people need that extra push. They just can't hear it from us. I can say, hey, you can lose weight by turning down the plate. You can lose weight by modifying the way you eat. Stay away from eating proteins and carbs at the same meal. Drink 10 to 15 minutes prior to your meal and wait to like 2 to 3 hours after the meal before you drinking to allow proper digestion in your stomach. So some people can't hear that. That's like, what? My mama been doing it all night. And we wonder why they suffer, why they, are dying and having the health issues and taking the medications and going to their doctor faithfully every week or every 2 weeks, with different ailments. And those things we don't have to go through, provided that we are wise enough to listen to sound teaching. So let's be a help to others by letting them know the benefits that we're receiving from our obedience to the ways of life. Now, we got a good show that we're going to be talking about here. It's going into science just a little bit, but it's dealing with things that's happening here in our day to day, in this age that we're in right now. We're suffering from a mass poisoning, a mass weakening, mass sicknesses, all due to our mass lifestyle habits. Our habits are so similar that we're suffering really bad, and our environment has become toxic. When I talk about the environment, I ain't talking about, just Savannah is toxic. Yeah, Savannah is toxic, but not just Savannah. And I ain't just talking about Georgia. Georgia is just not toxic. I'm not just talking about America. America is not the only continent that's toxic, because what we're dealing with is a diseases that has crossed barriers. That mean that there's this toxic situation is not, say it's not conformed just to just one area, not just to Savannah, not just to Georgia, not just to America. What we're dealing with is something that is toxic worldwide. It's a situation where Earth environment has been compromised. So it's either in our air, it's dealing with our water supply, our food supply, because all those things have become one. We become one world, and we're eating the same food, we're drinking the same drinks. Coca-Cola is ruling this thing. Pepsi kind of in there too in the game. Doritos is definitely in the ball game for poisoning humanity. We look at these things as just straight up knickknacks and little soda pops, drinks, and stuff like that. But these are mass poisoning. McDonald's is in the chain of mass poisoning humanity. You have so many different businesses that, I guess because they pay us and help us generate money, and they pay taxes and help with employment. We're unwilling to see that they're actually poisoning the world. Look at in our environment, because a certain holiday produces so much money for this city that I live in, they're willing to let people come down here and get drunk in the street, walk around the street, party, and get drunk. It's okay because they're going to make huge amounts of money on that day. So money determines in certain people's eyes and at certain times if poisons are okay. If they're going to allow, a day of just poisoning ourselves with one drug, what's wrong with having a day of poisoning ourselves with other drugs? Why don't we have a day of just, allowing people to smoke weed and just enjoy themselves? Or, a day of just having people sniff cocaine. Have a day of people, smoking crack, just like it's a party. It's a big party. You can come to the city and smoke all the crack you want downtown, and as long as you're not bothering anybody, you come there with all your money and all your crack, and you can sit there, they'll sell you crack. They can make money off this crack, It don't look moral to them because, society deem that a really bad drug when alcohol has killed more people than any drug. Especially when it comes to driving under its influences and stuff like that, and it has caused a lot of people to, go home and beat on their wives, molest their children, and all type of stuff. People who usually get on, something like weed or something, you don't hear people getting behind the wheel and going off. Most people just want to sit down and chill, relax. People even who are in the crack house, they're not trying to smoke and get behind the wheel or anything like that. But that's just the mentality of the people. But our show is on something totally different. I've been waste a lot of time talking about that and haven't even started our topic yet. Our topic for today, one of them, we're going to be talking about testing antibodies. Now, that's one thing that we see when we hear about a so-called infection or pathogen, developing in our world. Like, we got this pathogen that's supposed to be being spread from person to person, and we have to wear masks, and we need to social distance ourselves because there's a pathogen, just jumping ship, just keep jumping ship, infecting everything, spreading all over everything. Now, when we go to the doctor or go and take these rapid tests and these different things like that, they're testing for antibodies. So they're testing antibodies, seeing if there's antibodies present in your body. Now, a lot of us don't know what antibodies is. But if you notice what I said, they're testing for antibodies. They're not testing for the actual pathogen. That's just like if you was to eat, or let's say that you was to ingest some Clorox. Clorox is a poison. Now, the test that would, once the Clorox go in your body is going to present itself something to reject that Clorox. That's a poison. It's an antigen. It's a pathogen that you just put into your body. And your body is going to respond to that pathogen by trying to neutralize it and render it less toxic. And then it's going to find ways to eliminate these poisons from your body. Now, that's just how your immune system works. Now, antibodies is such a means by how your body render antigens less toxic. It neutralizes them by binding itself to it, So your body makes these proteins. That's what antibodies are. They're proteins made by the body, but they are part of the immune system. They're like a Y shape, like it's like you got a tentacle here and you got a tentacle here, and then you got the body of it. Now, at the end of those tentacles, they're like sites. They're sites that they bind to different toxins. They're snatch. It's like they're grabbing them. Here, come here, come here. So it's like it got hands that is snatching these toxins out of the body when they're coming to the body, and then when it does so, a phagocyte. Now, a phagocyte is something like a Pac-Man. The Pac-Man comes by and it eats the antibody and along with the antigen that it got in its hands. It engulfs it. And then that phagocyte goes to one of your mucus sites, such as your lymphatic glands, one of your glands, and it's stored there until it can be eliminated and it's dumped out of your body. Sometimes it's circulating in your system because it's at work. It can't just disappear and show up in your lymphatic gland. No, it travels to your lymphatic gland. So it'll be in your blood system. It'll be in your mucus. It'll be inside your saliva. It'll be in your, all throughout your body, these different, phagocytes, these different antibodies circulating because they're doing work. They're steady snatching toxins out of the air because you're steady intoxicating yourself. So antibodies are constantly present when any antigens are just pathogenic material. It could be what they're calling these so-called germs and bacteria out here. But anything that is poison is an antigen. Anything that is poison will elicit immunoaction. Your immune system is going to respond to any type of poisoning that invades your body. If you drink a Coca-Cola, that's poison. The body wasn't designed to make you drink Coca-Cola. And your immune system will produce antibodies to fight against that Coca-Cola. Now, it might not do it off the first Coca-Cola. It might not even do it off the second Coca-Cola. But after you've drunken Coca-Cola after Coca-Cola, and you drink in mass amounts of Coca-Cola, then you have a huge amount of toxins in your body that your body cannot tolerate. This means that now this toleration has gotten over the threshold and the body must take action. All right, so the body will heighten up its defense system by producing huge amounts of antibodies and throwing it into the system. So now you're going to have an elevated amount of antibodies that now can be detected. See, usually they're not detected because the body don't have to make so much. But when the body is under overload, it's being taxed with an overload of poison, then it's going to start throwing out more antibodies to deal with this overload of poison. Now, the thing about it is your body only makes 5 classes of antibodies. It got a class A, class B, class C, class D, and class E. Only 5 classes that deals with certain types of antigens, certain different types of poison. Now, the only thing that A need to do to deal with, now, before I say that, you got 5 antibodies, classes of antibodies, but there are thousands and thousands and thousands of poisons out there and antigens and so-called germs and bacteria that those 5 antibodies have to deal with. All right, that is a key statement that I just said. If you pay attention to that, there's only 5 antibodies that your immune system make, and those 5 are responsible for defending the body against thousands and thousands of different pathogens, poison, bacteria, germs, and all type of other so-called antigens. Now, the reason why I said that twice is if you understand that statement, you'll see that all these tests that they're testing for antibodies will prove disastrous. Like, there's only 5 that you can test for. But that antibody A don't only be present just for AIDS or HIV. It's present in a host of other situations. It's not just there just to deal with a HIV virus. It's also there to deal with a leukocyte deficiency or some type of other so-called disease or viral infection or any type of so-called pathogen that gets into the body. Coca-Cola, for example, might elicit antibody A. Doritos tater chips might elicit antibody A, meaning that might be the antibody that must be present for the poisons that are in Doritos, the poisons that are in the honey bun, the poisons that are in the cooked foods that we're eating. that's in the teas, that's in the coffee, all of them may very well require antibody A to be present to deal with the poisons that results from consuming these pathogenic materials or these poisons. It may require B, it may require C, it may require D, it may require E, but that's all we have, just those 5 classes. So when we go to the doctor and he said, well, you got your body got is present for A. You got a bunch of A antibodies in your system. Well, who to say what it's there for? Who to say what it's there for? You probably just got finished eating a bunch of toxic stuff. You probably use a bunch of Fabuloso in your house. You may use a bunch. Somebody was telling us that they were getting out of work by spraying Lysol in their nose and going and get tested. And they were testing positive for this issue that we got going on in the world today. They were consciously putting poisons in their body, and their body had to react. It had to produce antibodies to deal with this poison. And it was calling for these types of antibodies. The same type of antibody that's going to be present if, I guess, so-called, if you had this condition they're talking about. But who's to say what's going on if that antibody A, is present in 1,000 different situations? Who to say it's there for this purpose? It's going to be there regardless. It's going to be present if I eat a honey bun. It's going to be present if I eat bacon. It's going to be present in all these other situations. So a lot of these tests are misleading us into believing that we're sick with this specific issue or pathogen when antibodies are present, they're present in a host of different antigens when the different antigens are present. Let me say that as clear as I possibly think I can say it in such a way. Now, you may use a ratchet to work on a car, but that ratchet the ratchet is always going to be there to work on different bolts and nuts. But the head, the actual head of the ratchet may be altered to deal with the different bolts, but the ratchet itself is always going to be present. So the ratchet is the antibody. The socket is the site. That's the only thing that changed. All right. But the ratchet is always going to be the same. So if the ratchet is there, who to say that what kind of bolt you automatically going to know that it is? If all you can test for is which ratchet is being used. You see what I'm coming from? You can only test and say, well, ratchet A is being used. So who to say what type of bolt that I need to work on? So these tests will have you wondering, how is they testing us and saying that we are testing positive for these different issues that's going on when we're going to test positive for drinking a Coca-Cola, for eating a honey bun, for breathing in Lysol, for having Fabuloso spraying in our house, for burning candles. All these things allow poisons to get into your body, and the immune system is going to respond to this poison. So that's something that I want you to look up for yourself. You don't have to take my word for it, but let's look at the different classes of antibodies. You can Google that real quick, and it'll let you know that there's only 5 classes of antibodies. And those antibodies, they change their socket. to deal with a certain path of poison that comes into the body. But the actual body of the antibody that's present is always going to be the same. All right. So do the research on it and stay enlightened where you can see that, you know, a lot of the stuff that we're being taught is a bunch of hogwash. And this is why we see a lot of numbers going up. All these people going up in numbers, and everybody's saying, "Well, goodness, I'm being." That's where we even get this a symptomatic situation from. People talking, "Well, I don't have none of the symptoms of it, or anything like that, of having, you know, anything going on, but your body is still producing antibodies because of something that you're putting in there." But let's look at our next topic. You know, I'm just putting these information in your ear where you can be more informed on what's going on in our world today, where you don't be alarmed. You know, a lot of the times our bodies breaks down due to the fear of not knowing, and or the fear of what we believe to be a dangerous situation, when it really ain't that dangerous at all if you know how to properly take care of yourself and not to fear the situation, because fear brings on death. You know, a lot of people, once they start hearing about sickness, they get sick and die. Especially those who go to the hospital and they be perfectly okay, except for a little aches and pain, a little uncomfortable situation that renders them to go to the doctor. But when they go to the doctor and the doctor give name to their disease and give them a death sentence, you know, oh, you got cancer and you got only 6 months to live, or you got this disease, you only got 3 months to live. Oh, you got this issue, and we need to do surgery immediately and get you on radiation and all type of different stuff like that. The individual in their mind starts breaking down their body. They start seeing and believing that their body is in a state that the medical man has informed them. But let's also talk about serum poisoning. This is just changing, even though we're talking about the same conditions that's going on in the world today. We're going to shift to serum poisoning. Got me some old fresh squeezed pineapple and orange juice. I squeezed it myself, just almost bare hand squeezing the juice out of them. I didn't have to use no blender to chop up my fruit. I didn't have to, you know, warm it up with that really fast circulating blending or squeezing action. I just get that juice up out of the pythons, get them up out of there. Or I use some of these slow masculating juices. That's what I use. To tell you the honest, certain fruits I do squeeze with my hand to get the juice out, but I want to indulge in more juice. But if I am getting a juicer, I'm usually going to get a slow masticating juicer. All those other juices, stay away from. If it's not a slow masticating juicer, it's not going to keep the juice nutritious for you. A slow masticating juicer mimics just a squeezing action. It's like a grape press that you seen back in the days where people go there and step on the grapes. Now that's masticating your juice out of the fruit. It's like you just how you would masticate it in your mouth. It's just you coming down on it and breaking the cell of the fruit and squeezing its juices out. So when you put grapes in your mouth, you come down on it. You know what I'm saying? And it busts the cell and the juice squirts out into your mouth. So that's what you call masticating. And so you get a juicer that mimics the actions of the mouth in releasing the juice. You don't damage the nutrition in the juice by heating it up, destroying the fibers and different things of that nature, even though fibers are not going to be present once you juice. But you can destroy a lot of the vitamins from the heat. How some of them blenders and stuff, they warm up and destroy a lot. But let's go into serum poisoning. We see that even when we were just talking about antibodies, a lot of people don't test positive for pathogens or antigens, or don't have antibodies present until they actually take the serum poisoning. Now, the serum therapy is supposed to give you immunity, says the medical doctor. So they're mass telling us to take these serums that these different companies are making. All these different companies got a different ingredients of serum poisoning that is designed to go into our body, they say, and produce immunity. Now, the way it produces immunity is by producing antibodies. All right. So they say they say that these, when you get these serum poisonings in your body, it's going to cause the immune system to produce antibodies. And these antibodies now mean that you have immunity. Well, if serum poison produces antibodies, and if antibodies are present, that gives me immunity. Well, why then, when you tested me prior to me taking serum poisoning, and if I have antibodies, why don't I have immunity then? You know, that makes no sense. If antibodies present mean that you have immunity, well, all these people who is testing positive for antibody, that mean that they're immune. But what they're saying is that immunity only comes from having antibodies present and being and the serum and having the serum. Only if you have the serum and you have antibodies present, they're saying that you now have immunity. That's I got to drink on that one again. If antibodies is a part of the immune system, and when they are present, if the immune system makes its own antibodies without having to be poisoned, if it makes antibodies, that's giving you immunity. But if somebody inject some serum poisoning into your body, and your body create, elicit antibodies to deal with that poison that you just thrown into your body, and it produces these antibodies to reflect and neutralize that poison, they're saying that that's going to create immunity. Why do I need to drug myself to create immunity? I don't have to drug myself to create antibodies and to keep antibodies present. If the toxins come in my body will produce antibodies, just like any, that's the thing. If we can take these serum poisonings, and this is what the medical people is telling us to do, keep injecting different poisons and keeping our immune system activated. See, our immune system needs rest. That's why we're seeing so many immunodeficiencies in the people today, is because we are overtaxing our immune system. We always got it active. We got it making antibodies for this. We got it making antibodies for that. We got it making antibodies for this and that. And one more this, because it do 5. So at all times, our immune system is active. And it's not because of our lifestyle habits only, but it's because of the poisoning of the medical people. Soon as we are born, we're injected with immunosuppressants or immuno excitos, because I call them excitos because they're exciting the immune system to produce antibodies. because they're saying that this is going to protect and give you immunity. But who to say we're ever going to get that stuff? But they go ahead and create antibodies to be present in your body. And they keep injecting these poisons, forcing your immune system to produce antibodies to that poison that they're putting in your system. So they want to keep antibodies on deck at all times. But that's weakening your immune system. Your immune system can't just constantly be activated for your whole life, for your whole 40, 50, 70, 80 years of life. It's not going to just run like that. That's why you're seeing these kids developing immunodeficiencies now, because they got them on God knows how many different um, um, serum poisonings before they even turn teenagers. You got the school hitting us now wanting records of our child immunization. How many times have she been poisoned? We want to know if she got all her poisoning. But this is just the ignorance that we have come to believe, which we call health. We believe that we can get health by poisoning ourselves. So if we look at our body only produces antibodies when there is a poison present, then when we're saying that these serums are put into our body and it produces antibodies, well, that means that the serum is a poison. The serum must be a poison if it elicits antibodies, because what we just said, antibodies become present when there's an antigen. When there is a poison present, the body will form antibodies or produce antibodies to neutralize and reject the poison. And it will stay there long enough to make sure that no other poisons are coming in. That's why the antibodies is going to be made for a good long time, and then the antibody decreases when the poison is no longer present. That's why they're saying you have to take these booster shots after every 6 months, because the body start noticing that you're not poisoning yourself with the serum poison anymore. So it goes away. They don't make as many antibodies. They don't have it elevated. It'd be non-detectable in the tests or your other habits. Or they still going to be detected depending on your lifestyle. It's a tricky thing, for the average eye. You wouldn't be able to see it because you wouldn't even study science like that, and especially if your science that you do study talks about something totally different. Don't even allow you to see what we're saying. It's a tricky subject. It's so tricky that mankind is suffering big time from our inability to properly understand what's going on with the human body. Now, according to the CDC, it says that anything that produces antibodies is an antigen. You can go on the website. It tells you a lot of the information. They're saying it, but don't even understand what they're saying. So if we're testing positive after taking their serum poisoning, that means that our immune system is activated. And these antibodies are going to be present. You remember, we only got 5 antibodies. Let's tie this in, because we only got about 18 more minutes. And we still got one topic that I wanted to talk about a situation where we had a bunch of failed cancer drugs, which these serum poisons are some of them right now. If we go, I was talking in our show last week about how those companies that are manufacturing this serum poisoning and selling it to the public and offering it to the public, distributing it to the public, they are really cancer research laboratories. They didn't study, the flus or pneumonia or colds or anything like that. That's not their course of study. Their course of study is cancer research and different cancer situations in the body. But they're the ones that's coming up with this so-called therapy, where they alter the cell structure and alter the functions of the cell. So they hijack a cell. This is pretty much what they're saying that they're doing. They'll tell you that they're modifying your cell structure to mimic a so-called flu cell or virulent pathogen. So they're saying that a so-called virulent pathogen looks just like a regular human cell, except for it's just got some abnormalities to it. All right, so a human cell is pretty much a virulent pathogen when it is modified or when it is abnormally structured, or if it functions abnormally, then it's not, they don't consider that to be a human cell. They consider that to be a pathogen that has invaded the body that looks like a human cell. Think about that. They don't, but see, this is considered to be really cancer. When we studied that last week, when we were talking about apoptosis, necrosis, and cancer mutation, how the cells mutate into cancerous cells or abnormal cells. They don't produce themselves like a healthy cell is supposed to be produced, or these cells don't function properly from abuse, overuse, or some type of other damage, starvation, poisoning, or something that has caused the cells to mutate or disintegrate. So this mutation is what they consider to be a cancer. Just hardening, where healthy soft cells become hardened cells. They tend to have spikes. They don't grow round like they're supposed to. They end up growing like a triangle or grow like a square or something. They just don't form like the normal blood vessel cell supposed to form, or the heart cell don't perform like the heart cell supposed to form, or the brain cells don't perform like the brain cells were designed to form, or they don't function like they were designed to function. So this is an abnormal cell. And if a cell is abnormally acting or abnormally structuring itself, the body is going to see that as a cancer, a threat. It's not normal, and the body is going to deal with it. It's going to either expect that cell to destroy itself, or it will send phagocytes, leukocytes, white blood cells to go in and destroy it. So this is where the body is dealing with abnormal structures. And so this is why they're giving us serum poisoning, which is this mRNA, to go into a cell and change what that cell is. It changes what that cell is. It makes that cell a rogue cell. Whereas the cell, let's see, Let's say a normal cell is going to just be a round circle. All right. See how I got that round circle right there? That's a normal cell. But when you get a mRNA to go in there and change the structure of the cell might look like this instead. See all those ridges and sharp edges and different things? Now, that is an abnormal cell, right? That's an abnormal cell. Now, this cell, the immune system is going to always allow to be inside the body, but it's not going to allow this cell to be in the body. As long as your immune system has a lot of energy and it's not weakened, it's going to fight and it's going to get rid of it's always scavenging through the body to look for these different toxic cells and stuff like that. So it's going to attack them and get it out of the body. This is just how the immune system was designed by the creator. You know, it's going to do it until it becomes weak in doing it. Then we suffer a weakened immune system, which we're getting to now. Which was we acquired this immune deficiency syndrome from overusing our immune system and dumbing down our immune system. I was telling somebody the other day, most times when we have to take like we get these different transplants. Notice how a transplant is not our tissue, it's not our cells. Let's say that you need a liver. Let's say that you need a liver because you allow your liver to. Let's don't even say that you destroy your liver. Let's say it was from some damage or you're getting hit in the side doing an accident of none of your fault. But most times it's from our fault, our way of drinking, our way of eating, our way of living that weakens and tears down our liver and all our other organs. But let's say that in this instance, it was from some damage not in your control. But nevertheless, your liver was damaged. Now, let's say that you have to go and get a liver transplant. You go and get a liver transplant. That if they put that liver in your body, this new liver that your body did not design, did not make, or anything like that, it's going to reject it. It's going to reject it and start fighting off that liver and destroying it. If they don't do anything, they're going to destroy that liver. That immune system is going to destroy that liver until it's no longer in that body. It's going to attack it because it's abnormal. It's not the normal structures that body made. This is why doctors have to give these immunosuppressants, these different medicines that bypass the immune system, causes the or dumbs the immune system down to a point where it will not attack that organ. So anything that is not made in the body is going to reject and fight off. So you're going to have a bunch of white blood cells. You're going to have a bunch of leukocytes, phagocytes, antibodies that's going to be present to fight off this liver that the body did not produce. So the liver is now an antigen. But if you can suppress the actions of the immune system, then that liver will stay in that body. What I'm showing you, I know some of you say, well, people may need that in rare cases. And it's a good thing in those rare cases. But that should show you how the immune system works, though. that'll give you a better understanding that most doctors are weakening all these drugs and stuff like that are weakening our immune system. And that's how they're acting, or so-called preserving ourselves. Instead of us finding out what's causing the weakness of our immune system or the activation of our immune system and removing that threat, such as the poisons that we're ingesting, the poisonous environment, and all that stuff that's causing us to have this action, these high blood counts, the white blood counts, these high antibodies present, always having these, the immune system activated. Instead of us removing that from our environment and from our daily habits, we're taking medications to suppress the immune system, to stop the overproduction of white blood, stop the antibodies being present and stuff like that with serum poisoning. But our habits remain the same. Our environment remain the same. So for us to be able to have this liver, we have to keep suppressing our immune system. For us to keep on drinking, eating toxic foods, living in a toxic lifestyle, we have to keep suppressing our immune system. And this is what we've been doing for quite a long generation. And that's why we're seeing new diseases manifest in our generation. That's why we're seeing the children dying off at an early age in our generation. All due to our attempts to live unnatural. But instead of us turning around our unnatural ways, we medicating ourselves with serum poison. One thing that we've seen in one generation of usage, and you can look this up, and this should scare you as well, because if you notice that the medical people have killed off a lot of people in their treatments, and it has gone unnoticed. The AZT story. You can even look it up in this book called the AZT story. But even if you look at what AZT was a drug that was used for HIV. People who was catching, so-called catching HIV in the early 60s and 70s of the last century, they were, 1960s, 1970s and stuff like that. They were getting this so-called condition where their immune system was breaking down. And the government was trying to figure out what was going on, where this mass weakness was going on. And you pretty much saw it in the gay community amongst men. It started around with men that were in the gay community. And these men were using a bunch of drugs. And they were, matter of fact, one of the main drugs was this poppers they were using. And they were staying up all night, taxing their body with sex and with different partners and stuff like that. So they were overindulging and weakening their energies by just constantly having sex. And they were, like I said, taking these poppers and stuff. So they were weakening their immune system. And they were developing a weak immune system where their body was attacking itself. It had huge amounts of white blood cell counts that was released in the blood, in the body, and then it weakened it so much that now the body could not make any white blood cells to deal with the poisons that inside. So now the body started having symptoms, spots, and all type of other stuff going on in that human body, because the immune system was so weak that it couldn't tolerate the poison that the people were putting in their body. But the medical people, for a race to try to find out what was the cause of this, they didn't realize the cause of it was the lifestyle and the habits of the individual. But they thought it was due to a virus called HIV. And so they were told that HIV was the virus that was causing this into the gay community. And they didn't say the lifestyle and the conditions of that community was what was producing it. Now, we noticed that they gave them a drug called AZT, Now, AZT was an immunosuppressant drug. Now, this AZT was first, before it was used for HIV, it was used in cancer research. It's supposed to have been a vaccine or a drug therapy for cancer, but it didn't work. It did not work in cancer. Now, the whole thing is to suppress the immune system. It's all about suppressing the immune system. Stop having the immune system work, or to activate the immune system to destroy abnormal cells. But this and keeping the immune system active, you're weakening it. They're never going to find that type of cure. The only cure comes from being obedient. But anyhow, the AZT was a immunosuppressant. You got a person who's coming to you exclaiming, saying that they have a weak immune system. Somebody come to you with a weak immune system, and you give them something that further weakens their immune system, because AZT weakens the immune system. It shuts down the immune system. So a lot of these people who were suffering and dying was because they were being drugged with this AZ. That's why you've seen a lot of people who went to the doctor suffering from, been diagnosed with so-called having AIDS. They looked healthy when they went to the doctor, but when they started taking the AZT medicines and stuff like that, they started breaking down. Some people were breaking down within months. Some people were breaking down in 1 or 2 years, but their body started breaking down. But people who weren't taking it or who never went to the doctor, you seen them still looking healthy and strong out here. They still have like little, have little symptoms of detoxing, where they have a drainage coming out. They have little symptoms of cold and different things of that nature, but they were still healthy and strong. They didn't look tore down and wasn't dying like the people who were under the doctor's care, who were taking the AZT pills and all that therapy that they had going on then. And this is the same thing that we have going on now, all this therapy and stuff. And they're practicing with serum that they know nothing about a disease they know nothing about. This is stuff that they're learning moment by moment as it develops in our bodies, in our life. Now, here in Holistic Health, we already know what's going on, and we try to inform the community about the toxic buildups in our bodies and stuff like that, and how to overcome it. Savannah Natural Health has been teaching this for over a decade now, and we're glad to be partnering with ATR Media to be able to get this to more people in a mass communication education setting. We're going to be up here every Tuesday at 6 o'clock. We've been doing it for quite a while. You can go visit ATR Media on YouTube or either on Facebook, and go to our prior shows and look at some of them. They have a lot of good information. And look at ATR as a whole. All things relevant here on ATR Media. I want to thank you for listening to our concepts today. Hopefully you had an ear to hear what we were saying. Go check on the 5 antibodies. Find out why they're saying these antibodies tests are bogus. Because there's only 5 antibodies. Why don't they have a test that check for the virus or the pathogen or whatever, the bacteria, whatever? They test to see the immune system if it's activated. And then they're going to say you're sick, or whatever they believe the sickness to be. And what they're going to believe the sickness to be is whatever symptoms you're categorized with, or whatever the so-called disease in vogue. Whatever the disease of the time, that's what you're going to have. That's what they're going to call it. All right. So best of health and happiness from Savannah Natural Health. And yeah, before we go, they even testing so many other stuff that's testing positive. That's great. Testing water, testing broccoli, testing all type of other stuff that should not have the so-called pathogens, but nevertheless, they're testing positive as well. Bed covers, all this stuff is testing positive for being pathogenic. All right. So best of health and happiness from Savannah Natural Health, and we'll see you next week. We love you. We always love you, and hopefully you take in this information as a love gift and not something to, we're telling you to cause you harm or to make you mad or anything. We just want you to love yourself in such a way where you will start taking care of yourself, where we can have more healthy beings here in the world, full of love, life, and happiness. Best of health and happiness from Savannah Natural Health.